that we are going through in the upcoming days. So I clearly observed this CSIR-NET examination syllabus and the question that was being asked in the previous year examinations. On the basis of that, I have made some topics. I've divided the whole oceanography syllabus into some subtopics. So you can when we are going through each of them one by one. So today's are mainly focus on this introduction of oceanography, which is more of an introductory part. And if time permits, then we also move on to the second subtopic, which is the morphological and tectonic domains of the oceanic floor. Okay, so if you see that this part up to this part, and if we say up to this part is the oceanography aspect. Okay, up to this part it is oceanography, and this aspect, as you can see, this the last 5 ones are the something related to paleoceanography. Okay, paleoceanography, you can also see some paleo climatology aspects also, and this part is usually covered in universities under micropaleontology. A lot of universities cover this syllabus. Even I have also gone through this part in my micropaleontology course. So for this thing, we are referring to some geology related books, micropaleontology especially. But for the above part, I am usually referring to Tom Harrison, whose cover page, as you can see here. Pinnett is there. I couldn't be able to remember the whole name. And Trujillo is there. Okay, these three are one of the most standard books available currently for oceanography, and a lot of questions are asked directly and indirectly from these books itself. Okay, so if you have time and if you are liking to read books, have a habit of reading books, then you should go through these books, because these books are very interactive. There are a lot of good figures. Okay, so you never get bored. These books are not so much monotonous like other books that you study for petrology and geochemistry and geophysics. Okay, these are the one of the most interactive books I have gone through in earth sciences. So if you don't have the PDF for them, I must be having, so I will share it to you people so you can go through, because it is very good to read books, so whatever you are learning here would get consolidated. Okay, so this I have given. You can no need to read whole things, because ultimately we are going through it with time. Next, we are moving the introductory aspect of the oceanography. Okay, so first we are going to learn what is oceanography, from where the name came from. It is a usual thing that we used to do every time. So the ocean term came from a Greek term which is known as the okeanos, which means ocean, and graphe means writing. So this is a Greek originated term. Okay, and usually if you get this CSIR examination, what is the name of this CSIR examination? It is the earth sciences. The name is the earth sciences. So in earth sciences, you study different subjects like oceanography. Are you able to see? Hello? Sometimes there's a lag in this. Oceanography and climatology, and geology, okay, geophysics, environmental. These are the things that we usually go through in the common part, in the part B. As you can see the syllabus. Part A is more of a reasoning type. ठीक है, quant type reasoning, qualitative and quantitative reasoning, aptitude aspect, which is of 30 marks. The next section is the part B, where you study all these aspects. So the oceanography, who's doing his MSc in oceanography or marine geosciences like that, he has to cover this also. And who is studying from geophysics also cover. So आपका ऐसा नहीं है कि आपके लिए ही problem है. There's a problem for each and every branch. As you can see, there's a problem for each and every branch. But I'm saying this thing, I've met people from oceanography and from meteorology and from geophysics background also, but they say that for them CSIR-NET is very, very difficult. For them CSIR-NET is very, very difficult, because there is an advantage for a person who has completed a master's in geology. Complete advantage. A lot of questions are being asked in section C purely from the geology aspect. But if you see from oceanography, very limited questions are there. Other subjects, very limited questions are there. So you can see the record for CSIR-NET every time whenever there's a topper from geology branch only. Even in top 10, you can see the students are from geology branch only. I haven't seen any person from marine geology or some oceanography batch, okay, topping this exam. Okay, so I'm just telling out the facts to you people, that you have a clear advantage over other branches also. If you give GATE examination, for example, if you give the GATE examination, then GATE is specifically your some part is the common part where you and the geophysics background people share that part, and the C part is the complete geology part, and geophysics for the geophysics people. Okay, so in that two branches are also there, but there are multiple branches given this exam. That's why the number of students that are registered for CSIR-NET are slightly higher compared to other examinations. Okay, so in that case, yeah, you can say it is slightly tough than GATE because the number of pupils are more, but I'm saying you have a clear-cut advantage. Clear-cut advantage, because oceanography, a lot of aspects you are going to study in micropaleontology. Okay, and it is very important to study oceanography. Some part you study in tectonics, some part you study in geomorphology. Okay, different aspects you study. So I'm just speaking out the facts what I have told you. Now in oceanography, what we are going to study, as the name suggests, obviously we are going to study the ocean. What is the composition of the ocean? Even coastal geomorphology we can also cover up if you people want, or tectonic domains, and what are the type of sediments that are present. Okay, then biological production in the ocean, and how ocean controls the weather phenomena. There are some events, some you can say some weather phenomena, which is a kind of a ocean atmosphere coupled phenomena. Okay, so it is very much controlled by the ocean, so it is very important. That's why, as people suggest that 71% of the earth is covered by the oceans. One of my teacher told me. So if it would be more than this, that is a problem. If it would be more less than that, that is a problem. So what does ocean does is, ocean is act as a reservoir. It holds a large amount of carbon dioxide within itself. So if it is not, if it is less, at least being 10% less. For example, the ocean is 10% less what is currently now. Let's take it to be 63%. We are minusing 7.1%. Let's take it to be 63% oceans, and the rest part is the land, which is around 37%. So in that case, it will cause a huge impact on the Earth atmosphere. Why it will cause a huge impact on the Earth atmosphere? Because the amount of gases that are being exchanged with different reservoirs, like in ocean with atmosphere, or ocean with the sediments, would be less. So a lot of atmosphere will remain in the Because that of carbon dioxide will stay remain in the atmosphere in that case, and hence what you know what would happen. Obviously, the global warming would be there. So what does ocean does? Ocean act as a thermostat. I'm telling you, the word is being used in some books, a thermostat. What is a thermostat? A thermostat is something that is trying to maintain the temperature of any place. Like your air conditioners, for example, you can take them a thermostat. What does they do? They try to maintain the temperature. In European countries and in other countries, they have this thermostat that is inbuilt in their house. So if there's very cold, they open it and make their home warmer. We don't have usually have in our homes. We have air conditioners. So it tries to maintain the temperature of that particular ambience. Okay. So ocean is a continuous body of salt water. We know that ocean constitutes a lot of amounts of salts that are being dissolved in this. That is contained in anonymous basins. So in a sedimentary, we usually study about different basins. So ocean are a kind of the basins, because basins are the places only where the accumulation of sediments or water can take place. Small basins, yes, we can see small basins over the continents also in the form of lakes, in the form of big depressions where the sediments are being accumulated. Okay, like Indo-Gangetic Plain, you can consider that a basin also, where sediments are there. In some basins, you can find some water that is being accumulated. So oceans are a bigger version of that only. As you can see, two images of the Earth has been shown below the text which I marked, and in one you can see that famous blue planet. Okay, and now the same image, or the same, now what they have done, the water is been removed. Okay, and you can clearly see the outline between the continents and the ocean surface. A lot of oceanic features that are concealed, not concealed, that are hidden beneath the water can also be easily visible in this image. So oceanic topography are not that much smooth that we used to expect, that we used to see that okay, maybe oceans are smooth, but it is more of a wavy type. It is very highly undulatory, even more than that of the continents. Just hold for a second. Okay, so you can easily see the images. As you can see, there's some this type of चोट लग जाती है, stitches बोलते हैं ना, stitches. It is something like this part and this part is being attached by some stitch. So this stitch, as you can see, what is it? It is the trace of the mid-oceanic ridge that you usually don't see because it is buried. It is hidden beneath the water. It is occurring at a depth of about 4 kilometers. Okay? So this is the scene. So don't expect that oceanic bottom is more of a flat type, plain type. This is highly undulatory. A lot of features are there. A lot of big mountains are there. Even bigger than Himalayas and your Andes and the mountain ranges. But we couldn't be able to see that because the oceanic depth is very huge. It is very huge. Okay. So as you see, because so you have to focus on some aspects like 71%. What you can do, you can just note down the key points. Okay. So as you see that ocean percentage is being given 97%. Okay, and this ocean 97%, and this 100%, 97% is the ocean. Rest 3% is the fresh water. Fresh water, in this 3% fresh water, so just take it 3% to be 100%. 70% are ice caps and glacier. Groundwater is 29%, and the rest is the fresh water 1%. And this what percent take it to be 100%? Okay, in which soil moisture is 38%, Water in living things, in human beings, in other organisms is about 1%, because we know a large part of our body is made up of water. So water is there. Lakes 52%, water vapor 8%, and rivers only 1%. The sea, rivers, large Amazon, Brahmaputra, Congo, large rivers only make up 1%. Only make up 1%. So you have to remember these values very carefully. You have to remember these values because a lot of questions being asked directly from there. Just tell me the sequence, okay, from increasing or from decreasing water content, like that. Okay, which reservoir holds the maximum water content, or in fresh water they can ask you. So in fresh water, may remember the glaciers are the main one. You can have your ice caps, your glaciers, and the rest is the groundwater and fresh water. In fresh water, you can see the respective percentages of the different reservoirs where the water is being stored. Any question from this part? Hello?
No, sir.
Any other person? No questions? Okay, no problem. If you have any, then you can ask me later on, because some people need time to digest. Voice is clear, everything is clear now. You can clearly see the slides, you can clearly listen to me. Any background sound is there? Do you have any background?
No,
No. Okay, if
no,
you have
no.
any, then please tell me right away. No need to wait anything. So now different branches of oceanography are there, because I have told you that ocean is not ocean. There are several other things that are related to oceans. Okay, so we are not going through all of these branches, okay, in a very detailed version, but very introductory idea, because these things that I have mentioned here, ultimately, some aspects are of this biological oceanography, some aspects are chemical oceanography, geological oceanography, physical oceanography, and meteorological oceanography. So okay, so in biology, what you can expect? Okay, what are the organisms? How they are dependent? What is the biological productivity? Taken. What are the elements that are helping themselves in the biological productivity? What are autotrophs? Because ultimately, you have to just see the food chain or the food cycle. So where it starts? It starts from the autotrophs, from the creatures that make their own food, and that usually lie on the surface of the ocean. Why they lie? Because they need photosynthesis, sunlight for the photosynthesis. That's why they lie on the, and rest of the higher order organisms or the creatures rely on that autotrophs. Then the chemical oceanography. Okay, we obviously we are going to see the chemistry. Okay, what are the chemical reactions? How ocean is going to maintain their basic nature, that we are going through. The buffer, oceanic buffer, how ocean is going to maintain its basic nature. It is very different. We are not just throwing some bases in the ocean so that it would be on a alkali side. Okay, ocean has its own mechanism to neutralize itself, of not getting being acidic in nature. Then geological oceanography, that is the aspect that we usually study, where we are going to see the marine sediments that we study in sedimentology, and deep marine phases, as you know, deep marine phases that we study. Okay, deep marine features we study, plate tectonics we study, rocks we study, ophelites. What are ophelites? What is the stratigraphy of the ocean? We are going to study these things now, and paleoceanography also, which is a very important thing. A lot of research is going, a lot of projects are coming in this particular branch. Very high branch currently in the market, because data is very easy to get here. Now, physical oceanography. Physical oceanography, we are going to study how these waves are generated, how these currents are generated, how these tides are, what are the difference, basic difference between them. We can also add some tsunamis also. Okay, because these are ultimately waves only. Some other types of waves are also there, like sea ash waves, rock waves, that we are going to study in the upcoming course. Then meteorological oceanography, that I've told you that ocean is somehow related. Ocean behavior, this atmospheric behavior is somehow related to the ocean only. Ocean controls this atmosphere. Atmosphere doesn't control ocean. Ocean controls atmosphere. That you have to remember. Okay. So how both things are related, how they are coupled, how they work with each other, that we have to see. And in this particular image, you see each and every aspect is true. Very beautiful image. As you can see, or can you see the particular image that is mentioned here? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. If you don't be able to see, so I can just enlarge that image. Nevertheless, you can able to see now, so it doesn't need. So each and every aspect is seen that there's a heat exchange going on, precipitation is going on, okay, and there's a gases exchange going on. Then you can also see how the plate is subducting, the topography of the oceanic plate, some hydrothermal vents and other oceanic features that are mentioned on the that are present on the oceanic basins. Okay, all and each and everything is shown here with depth wise, like uh, this is the coastline. This is the coastline, and from here the topography is going downwards like this, so it will reach like that. Okay, so don't worry about this. We are going through this each and everything in a very detailed manner later on. Okay, so it is shown now. You see some mid-ocean ridges that are present here, where there's a presence of hydrothermal vents also. Then you see this plate subducting, okay, and some wind control things, and evaporation, precipitation. All this aspect has been shown in the diagram. Okay, the resolution is not that much good. Okay, I hope you are able to see each and read each and everything properly. Okay, so this people, this is a very uh, trending image on the social media. Some people suggest just this is the boundary of the two oceans. As you see that this is the boundary of the two oceans going infinitely. I don't know from how much distance. And they suggest that okay, this is the Pacific Ocean and this is the Atlantic Ocean. I hope that you are familiar about some names of the ocean. So I mentioned in the slides also. Just it could be Pacific and Atlantic. So the Pacific Ocean and this is the Atlantic Ocean. And this is a boundary between the two of the oceans. People are making their own speculations about this. But I'm telling you, it is not so. This type of things happen because of differences in salinities, density, temperature, etc. Other physical parameters also. So what is happening, as you heard about a term, we call it liquid immiscibility. You have heard about a term we known as the liquid immiscibility. So two liquids, one you consider as oil or one you consider as water, are going to mix with each other. Are going to mix each other. No, they are not going to mix with each other because they have their own unique properties that doesn't allow them to mix. That's why they are immiscible liquids. Not miscible, immiscible. Okay, some liquids that are obviously mixed with each other because they don't have that much contrasting properties, but Oil and water, so much contrasting properties. The viscosity is different, the density is different, okay, the surface tension is different, okay, and obviously the melting and boiling point. Sorry, this boiling point is also different for both of these liquids. So they couldn't be able to mix with each other properly. Similarly, waters, different waters. As you see in this image, so you can see that this is a outlet of a river having a huge sediment flux. Sediment can be of cobble size or maybe of clay size particles also. Clay size particles, you know that they are usually in suspension, and and because of this suspension, they can travel to larger distances in the ocean. So whenever the river is outflowing itself into the oceanic water, what it is happening is you see that a sediment plume is forming, and because of this sediment plume, as you see that plume, it is similar to that the plumental plume, if you have heard about. Okay, the mantle plume is you see on a vertical scale, but this plume we are seeing on a horizontal scale. So this plume is moving like around 3 to 4 meters beneath the water surface. And in aerial image, you see that it is very well shown. What is the extent of this plume, how they are moving. Okay. So because this plume contains its own physical properties, they have their own sediment, what you call it, salinity or turbidity. Okay, so and sediment, turbidity, and all this thing, and this ocean, this which is more of a darker color, is shown have its own unique properties. Because of this contrasting properties, they are couldn't be able to mix with each other. Okay, so you can expect that the more brighter one is on the side, as you see, and the darker one is this one. And why this blue color? This blue color is because of this high durability, and because a lot of sediments are in suspension. So don't believe these things that are in the social media. Okay, now ocean versus continents. Very important thing. A lot of question you can expect from this slide. So very carefully listen to me. So we are comparing ocean and continents. So what type of things we are going to compare? Obviously the depths, the heights. Okay? So ocean depth, average depth is around 3.6 kilometer. Let's take it to be 3.6 kilometer. If I'm not good at remembering, better to write 3.7 kilometer, because it is more towards 3.7, not 3.6. 3.7 kilometers. If you couldn't be able to remember this exact value, just remember some rough values like 3700, like we remember the radius of the Earth is 6400, like that only. And the deepest oceanic trench is the Mariana Trench, which is around 11,000, or better to say 11 kilometers, 11,022 kilometers, 11 kilometers. Comparatively to that, if we see the continents, the continent's usual average elevation is 840 meters, which is like around 4 times. It is nearly 4 times, man. Okay, then this figure, and this thing you see, Mount Everest, this which is the highest peak in the world, this have elevation of 8850 meters. So average, for example, if we compare, and highest we compare, and if we see ocean and continents, इन किलोमीटर्स लिख देते हैं हम यहाँ पर, इन किलोमीटर्स लिख देते हैं हम यहाँ पर. तो हम लोग क्या है वैल्यू हमारे पास यहाँ पर, एवरेज, दिस इज द एवरेज, दिस इज द हाईएस्ट or lowest, highest or lowest, and this is the average one. So for ocean it is around 3.7, for continents it is around 0.8, and for the lowest one it is 11, and it is around 8.8. Okay, so these figures, please remember these figures, because these are the average and the high and the low ones. So if we see the all over topography of the planet, हम ये नहीं देख रहे हैं कि क्या वो ओशन है या वो आपका कॉन्टिनेंट है. If you see the all over topography right away from the highest to the lowest, अगर क्वेश्चन आ गया CSIR में, just tell me the total highest and the lowest. So it is around 11 plus 8.8, 19.8 किलोमीटर की टोपोग्राफी हमारी अर्थ सरफेस की. 19.8 किलोमीटर. अगर हम सब वाटर रिमूव कर दें, then the highest peak and the lowest point is the difference between them is around 19.8 kilometer approximately. Just see, this is huge, man. Then people say that Earth is like a smooth ball. Okay, but it is not a smooth ball. It is very rough. It is very rough, yeah. 19.8 meters, so much huge elevation. Okay. So, as you see that the equator is somewhat passing. So, equator usually divides the Earth into two halves. This is the equator, which we consider as 0 degree latitude. So, this is the northern hemisphere, NH, I would write, and this is the southern hemisphere. As you can see, in southern hemisphere, from the map, global map, the percentage of oceans, relative percentage of oceans, better to write, is more compared to that of the northern hemisphere. Though the ocean percentage is more in both of the cases, but I am talking about this relative ocean percentage. Relative ocean percentage is more in southern hemisphere as compared to the northern hemisphere. But in southern hemisphere, you can see a continent, Antarctica, where there is ice caps, is present on the southern pole. But in northern pole, it is nothing. It is the Arctic Ocean. On northern pole, we don't have any continents. So, some ये कह सकते हैं that this northern hemisphere have relatively more continents. I'm speaking the reverse what I have said before. Okay. Previously, I have told about these oceans. Now I'm stating these continents. But so in northern hemisphere we have more continents. Okay. But we don't have any continent present on the northern pole. In southern hemisphere we have more less continents, relatively less continents. The area is being covered, less area is being covered by the continents. But we have Antarctica that is present on the southern pole. Okay, these are some of the facts that you should write. Okay, so the southern hemisphere is dominated by oceans, which is around 80%, and you see that the average is around 71%. Okay, why on the other hand, northern hemisphere is dominated by oceans around 60%. So they have just divide both of these terms with the 2. You got the value, your value. Nearly you will get this value. Okay. So this is the average. So 60%. So remaining obviously 40% is land, and here 20% is new land. And I'm saying in that case also, a majority of this part would be there in Antarctica only. The rest would be there in South America and Australia. Okay, so this thing it is also mentioned, very important diagram. You can see that this is the northern hemisphere, this is the southern hemisphere as part, and you have this equator that is going through here. See, this is going through here, and you see what that land area. If the land area, so what is the distribution of land area? Just ignore this part, blue part. Just focus on the brown part, which is the land area part. So you can see the distribution of the land over different latitudes, right away from 90° north up to 90° south. Right away from the 90° north up to 90° south. So you can see that the maximum land area, they can ask question from here. So you should write down about this thing. The maximum land area is here, which is around 45°, 45, 55°, 45 to 55, 50° reaches. At least 5 की तो रेंज देंगे वो, ठीक है. तो 45 to 50° is the latitude over which there is a maximum land cover. So if we see that okay, this is 90, the 90 is this, for example, ये ऊपर वाला जो पार्ट है ना, इसको हम 90 बोलते हैं. So 45, it would be somewhat midpoint of this part. So on 45 you can see that there is a maximum amount of the land cover, means maximum area has been covered by the, okay, and very less is the oceans. So but on this 60°, as you see, what is there? There is no land. ये इसकी बात कर रहे हैं वो, देखना न्यूजीलैंड के जस्ट नीचे, दिस इज द न्यूजीलैंड where I have mentioned this SH. This is the New Zealand. This is the part of New Zealand. I must be using some other pen so you can see that properly. Blue तो नहीं use कर सकता मैं. This is the New Zealand, and this is the 60°. Just imagine. So there is no land. Understood? Any problem? Any problem in this part?
Sir, actually, I have a doubt from previous one. This part, the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean is in the same latitude or latitude. Then it is faces the same temperature. So why the color is different?
Okay, we can see this global map first of all for your reference. So you are talking about this particular area maybe. Hello.
Yes,
प्लीज
sir.
हिंदी में बोल लीजिए, एक बार हिंदी में पूछ लीजिए क्वेश्चन. ओके, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. यू कैन आस्क इन हिंदी आल्सो. कैन यू रिपीट योर क्वेश्चन? आप पूछिए या फिर से.
Sir, actually, why the two oceans have different color? I just want to know that
No, no, no. This is the basis of my telling that two oceans don't have their different color. This is a myth that you have seen in social media, that people are spreading through social media. This is a myth. It is nothing like that. That's why I have mentioned. This is the is this, that's why I have mentioned. Is this the boundary of ocean? Question. Okay. ये नहीं है आपकी जो दो ओशंस हैं उनकी बाउंड्री नहीं है, ठीक है ना. इट इज समथिंग, you have a sediment laden water that is expelled from this river. आप ये रिवर देख सकते हैं, एक माउंटेन्स है यहाँ पर, आप देखिए. तो यहाँ पर हाई डिस्चार्ज है सेडिमेंट्स का, और जैसे ही आ रहा है वो क्या कर रहा है, आपका सेडिमेंट्स के स्प्रेड हो रहा है, स्प्रेड होगा आपका, ओके, स्प्रेड होगा इस तरफ लाइक दिस. ओके, सो दे आर मेकिंग अ प्लूम, अ सेडिमेंट प्लूम. एंड सेडिमेंट प्लूम जो है, ऐसे नहीं कि जैसे वो रिवर के, जैसे वो गया ओशन के अंदर, उसको थोड़ा टाइम चाहिए डिस्पर्स होने के लिए, एडजस्ट होने के लिए, ठीक है ना. तो ऐसा नहीं कि जाते ही वो मिक्स हो जाएगा. जैसे आप फॉर एग्जांपल लोग सिगरेट पीते हैं या आप दिवाली पटाखे जलाते हो, तो जो धुआं निकलता है वो इमीडिएटली आपका मिक्स नहीं होता है एयर में, उसको थोड़ा टाइम लगता है. तो जाएगा, वो फैलेगा, फैल के वो डिमिनिश हो जाएगा. सेम थिंग है. This is not the boundary.
Okay, sir. Sir, the middle portion is the mid-oceanic ridge or anything else?
क्या बोल रही हैं आप?
Sir, the middle portion is the more mid-oceanic ridge or anything else?
This one,
What is the middle?
this one.
Is left side? Left side. Yes.
No, no,
Yes. Yes. This.
no, no. It is. I don't able to recall the exact place we have taken this image, but this is not measured British language. This is something you can expect near Norway or Alaska, southern some कोस्टल एरिया है आपका नॉर्वे और अलास्का का, ये जहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं पीक्स। आप देखिए ना, ये नदन कोई नदन एरिया का ही है, क्योंकि आपके माउंटेन्स और ओशन एक साथ आपकी एक इमेज के अंदर कैप्चर किए गए हैं, एक एरियल इमेज के अंदर, एक सैटेलाइट इमेज के अंदर, ठीक है ना। तो ये चीज आपके ट्रॉपिकल और सब ट्रॉपिकल एरियाज में एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर सकती। ये कोई हाई लैटिट्यूड कंट्री है, कोई अलास्का या कनाडा या नॉर्वे, यही कुछ कंट्रीज है जहां पर आप एग्जिस्टेंस देख सकते हैं माउंटेन्स और ओशन का साइड बाय साइड, ठीक है। तो ये, हाँ, तो ये कुछ वहां की जगह मिड ओशन ब्रिज नहीं शो की गई है, ये बहुत ही छोटी इमेज है। सॉरी, आई कुडंट बी एबल टू मेंशन दैट स्केल हियर, बट you can expect that this much scale is around 10 kilometers max to max. So this must be around max to max 100 kilometers distance. उसमें मैं exaggerate कर रहा हूँ, उससे भी कम ही होगा ये। So this distance might be 20-25 kilometer. So mid ocean is not shown in this image. ये किसी कोस्टल एरिया का शो किया गया है। सेम थिंग आप देख सकते हैं यहाँ पर भी, गंगा ब्रह्मपुत्र डेल्टा में जैसे गंगा आउटफ्लो करती है अपने आप को सुंदरबंस में, आप देखिए बहुत ज्यादा सेडिमेंट और इस तरीके के प्लूम्स डेवलप होते हैं जो कि काफी ज्यादा डिस्टेंस तक ट्रेवल आउट करते हैं। ओके, सो जिनको भी दैट्स व्हाई बिकॉज कभी कभी होता है एक दो लाइनें मिस हो जाती हैं आपकी लेक्चर्स में, है ना, कि सबका अटेंटिवनेस लेवल डिफरेंट है। तभी मैं पूछता हूँ, यू शुड आस्क एज मेनी क्वेश्चन। आप प्लीज पूछिए जितने आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं, ठीक है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है क्वेश्चन पूछना। सो आपका क्लियर हो गया। आप कुछ लोगों को ऐसा लग रहा होगा कि मैं इसको इरेज कर देता हूँ, तो आपको ये चीज बाद में जब आप गो थ्रू करोगे एनोटेड पीपीटीज को, ठीक है। So no, that thing I have to keep. That is a very important thing. That arrows. Okay. Any other questions you want to ask?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Have you cleared this thing? Everything is clear now. Okay. So this
Yes, sir.
some values that you have to remember, like 60 degree, 45 degree, whatever things are telling to you. Okay. Okay. Just see. They have compared the depth of the oceans. Okay, so this is the Mariana Trench, as you can see. Mariana Trench, this base of this Mariana Trench is around 11 kilometers. ठीक है ना? And these are some important peaks in Europe, like the Mount Matterhorn, which is around 4478. And maybe it is in Switzerland. I couldn't be able to recall, but it is in Switzerland. This Mount Everest, everyone is familiar, and this is the height over which this commercial airliner flies, around 11 kilometer approximately. Okay, and this is also the reason why they are flying at this particular altitude only. And so they have done what they have they have put this Mariana Trench as a base, and if you keep all the things like Matterhorn, and so you can see that this Mount Everest won't be able to reach the surface of the water, which is approximately 11 kilometers from the base. So अगर हम एक हिमालय को या आपके माउंट एवरेस्ट को कट करके वहां से प्लेस करते हैं ओशन के अंदर, still its apex couldn't be able to reach the surface, even it is around 2 kilometers beneath. So you can just imagine how much deep is the oceans. Okay. So other things are also shown. Don't need to remember, just for the reference I have shown you to make the slides more interactive. And this is the Burj Khalifa. This is the tallest man-made structure, about 830 meters. And this is the depth on which the squibers big whales usually swims. Okay? And this is the RMS Titanic shipwreck, which is lying at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean at about 4100 meters. This all the examples are shown for the reference purpose because they are well-known examples to compare, just to compare with that of the oceans. And now this is the ocean depth. Some terms are very important here, some things, and you see that if we this particular part, if we are on this particular part, we are on the continent side. Okay, we are on the continent side. Now you see that, okay, this is sloping, okay, up to this much extent, which is the continent part only. We calculate the continent part, okay, up to this much part, which is the continent shelf. Okay, this is the actual continent part. This usually referred to as this particular continent slope. This is the most deepest part in the oceanic topography. 7 degrees, around 7 degrees slope. This continent shelf and other features, you can expect the slope is somewhere one or less than that also. But continental slope have this gradient of about 7 degrees. So then comes this continental rise. Over this is like a where this continental slope is meeting with this oceanic basin. This, and then you have this oceanic basin, which also calls abyssal plain. And there are some areas where there's a development of this trenches. We call it trenches. Don't worry, we are going to each of them in a very detailed manner in the next lecture, which is the morphology of the morphology and the tectonic domains of the oceans. Okay, so don't worry about that. See, be not worry. So this part, this upper part, ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट सी दिस टोपोग्राफी, हाउ इट टोपोग्राफी गोस. तो अगर हम अरेंज करना चाहें तो पहले क्या आएगा, कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ, इतना आप याद रखिए पहले, एंड रीड अबाउट दीज थिंग्स. फिर आपका आएगा कॉन्टिनेंटल स्लोप, फिर आपका कॉन्टिनेंटल राइज. ओके, देन यू हैव abyssal plain, or you can also call oceanic basin. Both of the terms are well used. Then finally you have the heddle zone. So this is the you say depth-wise arrangement of different segments of the oceanic floor. Okay. So though this part, I've told you this part is the continent part only. I can write with some other ink. This part is the continent part. Okay. This part is somewhat continent ocean transition. ठीक है ना, कॉन्टिनेंटल क्रस्ट से ओशन क्रस्ट में ट्रांजिशन हुआ है. ठीक है ना. फिर उसके बाद you have this continental rise, abyssal plain and heddle zone, which is exclusively oceanic nature. Means whatever things you get, whatever the basement is not a felsic or a felsic rock which you usually find on the continents over from which the continents have been knit from. They are mainly basaltic. So basement is basaltic. Okay. So, and if we see that depth wise arrangement of water, ठीक है ना, अब जैसे what is the water, ये depth wise arrangement है. So first is the epipelagic zone. which is the sunlight zone. So you have to remember, which is known as the sunlight zone, up to 200 meters. Then from 200 to 1000 is the mesopelagic zone. So pelagic is usually something which is oceanic in nature. ठीक है? So epi, meso आप पढ़ते नहीं हैं? Epithermal, mesothermal, ठीक है? All these names that you study in Lindstrom classification of ore minerals, uh, hydrothermal minerals. Sorry. So this is the mesopelagic zone, right away from 200 meters to 1000 meters. So you have to remember these values, these things. ठीक है ना? Just remember this. These are the key points that you can note down during the lecture, and just make some short notes, because these are very important. A lot of questions are being asked directly from this aspect only. Then we have this Pythipelagic zone, which is the midnight zone. ठीक है ना? Which is the midnight zone right away from 1000 meter to 4000 meter. So आप देखिए क्या हो रहा है, सनलाइट, ट्यूलाइट, मिडनाइट. अब ये तीन नाम कितने ज्यादा फेमिलियर. सनलाइट धूप है भैया, रोशनी है. ट्यूलाइट शाम का समय है, सन जो है नीचे नीचे आपका सनसेट हो रहा है, आपका डॉनिंग स्टेज में है. एंड यू हैव मिडनाइट, कंप्लीट नाइट. वहां पर इससे ये पता चलता है उनने इन डिविजन्स को मोर ऑफ अ इस बेसिस पे कि सनलाइट कितनी रीच कर पाती है ओशनिक डेप्थ्स में, उसके बेसिस पे. मींस एपिपेलाजिक जोन में आपको पूरा सन दिखेगा, फिर आप 200 मीटर के बाद आपको सनलाइट थोड़ी बहुत दिखेगी, 1000 मीटर के बाद तो दिखेगी. ठीक है ना? देन आफ्टर 4000 you have the abyssopelagic zone, which is the abysses. Then it is the hidden zone, which is the trenches. ठीक है? So this is the, this you have to remember. Very very important, superbly important. Please don't ignore these things. Questions usually directly come from these parts, and where I've seen a lot of questions from this part only. Okay. Then significance of oceanography. अब ओशनोग्राफी का क्या क्या सिग्निफिकेंस है, ठीक है ना? सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं हम लोग, क्या मतलब है इस चीज को पढ़ने का, CSIR-NET है, उसके अलावा और क्या क्या है, क्या इसमें रिसर्च की कोई ऑप्शंस हैं, बिकॉज अ लॉट ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूट्स आर देयर इन द कंट्री एक्सक्लूसिवली फॉर द ओशनोग्राफिक ओशन स्टडीज. ठीक है ना? Usually these particular institutes are being situated along the coastlines. We are not familiar. In Chennai there is one, in Goa there is one, and NCPR is there. Some divisions of geological survey are also focusing on this aspects. Okay. So one is the natural resources, minerals, okay, oil, gas, transportation. A lot of trade is going through the seaways, because large container ships can travel and can transport a huge amount of logistics from here and there. That couldn't be possible by roadways or railways. They are very very costly. Climate and weather. I told you that climate is very much controlled by the oceans. Tourism. आप जाएंगे, आप मालदीव जाएंगे, आप लक्षद्वीप जाएंगे, अब आपकी मर्जी आप कहाँ जाते हैं दोनों में से. So tourism very important, because everybody who are, particularly I belong to some place in Uttar Pradesh. So my particular city, my city is very very far away from this coastline. I wish to visit any beach anytime. Like कभी कभी मन करता है. So because it is very very refreshing to go there. You find peace there. So a lot of people visit for tourism purpose. Sources of food supply, fisheries, seafood, very famous seafood. Okay. Sources of ecosystem, very important, because आपके कोरल हैं, आपके और different environments हैं, जो कि different biodiversity की को मतलब ये habitat है, ठीक है ना? Energy sector, tidal energy, ठीक है, and strategic importance also. Countries want to control that as part of the ocean. Okay, if someone is interested in geopolitics, then they may know what is the strategic importance of an ocean. Every country wants to strengthen their navy. Every country wants to strengthen their navy. Okay, so there's a huge strategic importance, because previously, if any country is being invaded by any what you call it, say group of sailors. Okay, so it is through not any roadways, not any airways. It is through seaways only. अब ब्रिटिशर्स भी इंडिया में आए थे, किसके थ्रू आए थे? It is through sea only, na. That race is going on three only. So they have a this strong navy through which they have controlled most of the part of the earth in the history for so much long time. So they have their own strategy. So you can just see. I've put one poster that I took it from the any this very good oceanic awareness site, where this aspects, what is the important, what is the significance of the ocean. They have all the things are being mentioned here. What things I have told you, how these oceans are helping in boosting the economies. The more coastline you have, the more GDP you have, if you are using it properly. So uh, that India have a huge coastline. In our state, I think Gujarat has the largest coastline. So longest, not largest, longest coastline. Okay. Other states are also. So we have some countries like Afghanistan, for example, is a landlocked country. So in that case, the trade is very difficult. If you don't have your own coastline, the trade is very difficult. And you can see that part of the India, जिस अभी कभी आप इंडिया का मैप देखना आपके, कभी कुछ थोड़े दिन पहले इस पे इशू था that government people are discussing on something that we have left that part of our what you call it Nagaland, which is very near to Bay of Bengal, but it is being separated by some part of Myanmar and Bangladesh. Just see that if we have that control on that part, then a lot of supplies can go through northeast through that way, but it has to come to the main this particular part to any other port is Visakhapatnam. Then we have to travel by road. अगर हमारे पास कोई पोर्ट होता, it is near this Mizo Hills, ठीक है, नागालैंड. तो और दूसरी कंट्रीज अलाउ नहीं कर सकती ट्रेड. म्यांमार अलग इशू चल रहा है, वहां पर मिलिट्री को हो चुका है. तो आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू सम एस्पेक्ट. Okay, there are some of the institutes that are related to oceanography. Okay, if you are qualifying this CSIR-NET examination, so your aim is to enroll yourself in any good institute that is focusing on oceanography, because a lot of research is going and a lot of funding is being provided by the government in these aspects, because इन चीज को बचाना बहुत जरूरी है. So one is this National Institute. I have to also mention where these institutes are being located in the country. One is this National Institute of Oceanography, which is in Vasco da Gama, Goa, and next is also very near to that NIO only. These are the CSIR laboratory. Okay, this is NCPOR, National Center of Polar and Oceanic Research, and this is the same organization. This fourth one, this is the same organization that people that usually goes to Antarctica and conducts studies. Every time they go for, a lot of scientists go for this Antarctica expedition. Okay. Then this is National Institute of Ocean Technology. This is also an institute that comes under the Ministry of Sciences. It is in Chennai actually. And next is the Center of Atmospheric and Oceanic Studies, which it is the department under ISC Bangalore, very famous department, doing well. Okay, these are the four things where you can enroll yourself. I think NI, OT, this you can't go, because this is more of an engineering side. Okay, this particular institute, the second one, focuses on these aspects, how to establish oil rig and all this thing, energy sector like that. So that in that institute, a geologist can't go, but you can apply to oceanography, you can apply to NCPO, or you can apply to SC Bangalore, and some other also some other institute. These institutes are also there, like Coral is there, ठीक है ना, and other IITs are also having very good establishments related to oceanography. Okay, even if you do micropaleontology, research in micropaleontology also, so there is also oceanography aspect that is every time involved with this. So this we are completing with our today's lecture, which is the more of an introductory in nature. But still, I've told you some facts that are important for the CSIR-NET examination. That I hope so that you have mentioned and wrote in your copies. Okay.